Space Ace, defender of justice, truth, and the planet Earth. Ace is being attacked by the evil Commander Borg.
Hold your fire! Who is that creep?
Borg.
Earthlings must surrender to me.
No way, Borf, old buddy.
Oh!
Ah! I've been hit!
By the Infanto Ray.
Earthlings must surrender to me.
Struggle with Dexter to regain his manhood. Destroy the Infanto Rays. Defeat the evil Borg.
Hey, Borf! Come on, Kimberly, let's go. I've been hit.
Be valiant, Space Warrior. The fate of Earth is in your hands.
Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Sonic the Hedgehog here, and welcome to our final Let's Play of 2018 of the Forms of the Maxi Toys videos. Because yes, we're about to be promised you guys to able to try out the forms of our Let's Play of the Forms of Space Ace, the third Don Bluth game we're about to be playing through, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to this particular Let's Play because if you remember, back in during the likes event in October and November, that we did recently tackle through by the forms of Dragon Slayer the first one and Dragon Slayer 2 Time Warp around and during in a day difference. So even then though, I thought to myself, well, I'm also able to tackle through the third and the final game of the Don Bluth series of games by the forms of during the 1980s type of arcade game, which is of course Space Ace. So, and as you expected, I'm playing this on the PlayStation 3 version right now because of the improvement quality and all that stuff. And just like in the forms of how it does in Dragon Slayer 1 and 2, I'm going to be setting my lives into an infinite, and nothing terribly wrong with that. It's just about the fact that I was going to be able to just to see how the fact that I can able to go far at this point. So even then though, let's head back and yeah, because I think we're all set and done with the forms of the options, and I really cannot believe that 2018 is getting close towards the end, which fundamentally though, because of how the fact that the time itself went really fast and all that stuff. So anyways, let's get started right there. Before you start off, there are 3 different choice of difficulties you can able to select. There is Cadet mode, and Captain mode, and Ace mode. The only major differences between those 3 difficulties is the fact that checkpoints can happen quite frequently when it comes to both Cadet and Captain mode, and Ace on the other hand though is the fact that it might actually extend some of the scenes, you know, just like the ones of how it does it in home mode in Dragon Slayer the first one and the original mode on Dragon Slayer 2 Time Warp. So for this playthrough alone, I'm going to be tackling through Ace mode. So, let's get to it. And it looks like she has been, got kidnapped and all that stuff. So, yeah, this is Space Ace. If you ever, experienced about the forms of this particular game, it plays exactly like how it did in the forms of Dragon Slayer 1 and 2. Except the noticeable differences this time around is the fact that, well, we're obviously taking place in a different environments this time around, but it usually takes place in outer space. And because of that though, you know, the main character does have his different weapon, unlike Dr. Darren, but he forms of Dragon Slayer 1 and 2, that he uses his sword for the entire time, but now it's like a ray gun of anything, so because of that, you know, we're in outer space. So, yeah, that's it for this first part, and obviously, just like in the forms of how it does it in Dragon Slayer 1 and 2, there's gonna be some button timing reaction going on here, so, oh wow, got my first trophy right there, that sounds pretty convenient there. Because yes, as you can see, that I'm playing this on the PlayStation 3 right about now, because of how the fact that, you know, the quality itself, well, wasn't nearly as high as 4K mode or anything like that, but because of that though, my PlayStation 3 is, you know, kind of a little bit more, you know, jinxed up when it comes to like the actual, excuse me, I'm eating some chili dogs, so I do apologize for that. But because of this though, I'm pretty sure the quality itself might be pretty alright. So even then though, that makes it a little bit purely obvious. So I guess I should probably explain about the forms of my final thoughts of 2018 until later down in this video. Because of this though, this LP might actually be one of the shortest of the bunch when it comes to Don Bluth series of games. Because in the forms of Dragon Slayer 1 and 2, that despite the fact that these two games are very simple and self-explanatory for the most part, but on the other hand, I'm actually going to be, like, breezing for this really fast, unlike continuously dying in the forms of Dragon Slayer 1 and 2, so... And just like in the forms of how it does in Dragon Slayer 2, and a little bit in the forms of Dragon Slayer 1, this game once again has voice acting, so... And this game did first came out in 1983 on the arcade machines, while in the forms of the proper release is the forms of in 1984, so it's about a year later after the forms of the first Dragon Slayer game, so... And this game came out before Dragon Slayer 2 came around, so... Because of this though, once again the animation style on this particular game itself is doing super remarkable back in the day, especially noticeable because it's almost like a Disney-esque, which even then though, it really does surprise me, and even then, that was before when, you know, that terrible box office and a terrible review of the Black Cauldron exists, and especially noticeable with this very great Basil the Great Mouse Detective was also a thing as well. And several other Disney films later down the road, they actually did manage to still continuously impress me still. So, yeah, that's as far as I can usually say about it. There's also another version of Space Ace by the forms of the Super Nintendo counterparts, but the Super Nintendo version of the forms of Space Ace is completely different compared to the arcade counterparts. Because of this, though, the Super Nintendo version is more accurately a platformer game, but in the forms you have to deal with the isometric view platforming, which I'm not exactly sure I was mostly comfortable with, but either way though, that's as far as I can say. Just like the ones of how it does in Dragon Slayer 1 by the way, there are some times though that we're actually going to be going through exactly the same scenes, but in the forms of like flipped over, you know, just like the likes of how it does in Dragon Slayer 1, and the occasional moments in, oh, you gotta be kidding me. If you did not know why I just got my first death right there, it's because, once again, whenever I play my PlayStation 3 on my own time, specifically on my component cable, sometimes it just starts to blink out by the forms of the black screen. Like, it happened to me whenever I played Sonic 06 on my own time, and especially noticeable in Sonic Unleashed from the PlayStation 3 as well. But it just attempts to really bug me sometimes, especially when I was concentrating on this so hard. But then if one blink of the eye, or in this case one blink, by the forms of the actual blackout screen is about to be interrupting me, that means my patience will be not as nearly as frequent as it used to be. So, yeah, that's kind of a little bit downfall for my TV's department. So, anyways though, so much like how it does in the forms of, you know, Dragon Slayer 1, there is a score system makes a return, but honestly, the score system doesn't really matter for me as much as it used to be. But apart from that though, that's as far as I can usually say about this. You can also now get this game on the forms of the PlayStation 4 version right now, thanks to the forms of the Dragon Slayer Trilogy download in the forms of the PlayStation 4, which I do appreciate it by that, but honestly I think the PlayStation 3 version does have a pretty good aesthetics when it comes to like the UI and stuff, because the problem I have with the forms of the PlayStation 4 re-release version of the forms of the Dragon Slayer Trilogy, I will admit though right away, is because the UI design on the PlayStation 4 is kind of bare bones to me though, just because of how the fact that I can barely see any of those commands, that I can really barely see by the forms of the button commands reactions and during time, so that's why I've decided able to play through the PlayStation 3 version instead. And plus, buying the forms of, well, unless it's a little bit cheaper compared to the forms of sold separately when it comes to Dragon Slayer Trilogy download sold separately on the PS3 console, it might be a little bit extremely pricey compared to the forms of the PlayStation 4 counterpart, but either way though, that's just for my personal preference here. So, yeah, that's aside from that though, that, well, it wasn't nearly as remarkable as the forms of how it does in the most excellent Dragon Slayer 1 and 2, that, well, there's still the animation, it still is the best part about the game. But honestly, I don't usually grow up this as much as the forms of Dragon Slayer games to me though, just because, well, I feel like by the forms of how the fact that with the forms of the unique characters in the forms of Dragon Slayers 1 and 2. But nothing usually negative about it, but either way though, that's just for my only personal preference here, so... Oh, look at that, there's the forms of the evil doppelganger himself, just like the likes of how it does it in, well, let's just say in the forms of, Pit's, the Dark Pit from, Kid Icarus Uprising, especially with... Oh, you gotta be kidding me, I wasn't reacting in time. Yeah, there are a few times though that as you can tell that I might occasionally will able to lose lives most of the time because of my reaction timing is a little bit more impeccable at one point, but either way though, that might be considered as fact. And also this scene does almost exactly feels a bit similar to the likes of the very ending portion of Dragon Slayer 2 Time Warp, where specifically if you played the original mode, that you know, what's this lady called again? It's Daphne, that she transformed into the forms of her evil counterpart whenever that, you know, the evil ring is about to be on its place on her ring. And then as a result, that scene is remarkably similar, except, well, it doesn't usually get us a grand finale climax or anything like that, so you get the idea with this solution, so... Man, I really cannot believe how the fact that this game is now 35 years old for this point. Well, it all depends on the forms of the actual, like... Even though I'm not exactly a purely release date expert when it comes to old school gaming and stuff, especially arcade games' existence, but either way though, it's nothing really major. And since we are playing this on the Ace difficulty, there was one specific scene that you might actually get yourselves a lot of trouble with, especially noticeable when it comes to this scene.
Call me Ace, huh?
Yes, this particular scene is only there if you manage to play this on Ace mode, because you have to do insane amount of timing, especially with the button reaction commands, and if you mess up at least once, then you have to return back to where you got into, so... And plus, whenever you get to the forms of the underwater section, no matter what though, if you manage to able to actually just die on the forms of the actual underwater scene, you have to go all the way back onto that trickiest section, so that's why that checkpoint right there doesn't activate if you actually get into that specific point. Only happens when, you know, just like the likes of how it does in Dragon Slayer 1 and 2, it only happens whenever you're able to actually just to move on to this next scene. So, that usually happens though for most of the actual gamers out there, so... Of course there are trophies in the game, just like the likes of how it does in the first Dragon Slayer and Dragon Slayer 2, but I'm probably not gonna get them all, just because some of them are goddamn ridiculous to able to get them all. But anyways though, so let's see how well we got into. So far so good anyway, without even using the game over and all that stuff. But on the other hand though, that cannot be applied from here, because, well, my timing reaction is not that great. And yeah, every time you actually get a game over, this main villain... Oh, you gotta be kidding me, I did not react to him in time again. Jeez, what is going on with me today? So anyways though, every time you get a game over, this particular Drave, the forms of the main villain of this entire game, or in this case the actual game movie I should say, basically he'll try to say things like, surrender you coward, or you will lose, or you cannot win, or anything like that. I think it only happens in some occasional moments in some sections of the game, but usually that's why he always does that, whenever you get a game over, or in this case if you get a continue and stuff. But at least as far as usually that's all he's trying to say, so... And I believe this might actually be the final scene of Space Ace, so... If no matter what though, if we manage to pull up with these button command reactions, then we should able to actually just to take care of Buddy forms of the actual main villain himself, reflect in the mirror, and boom! Game is done.
Oh, Dexter! Isn't he adorable? Can we keep him?
Call me Ace, huh?
And I think that's what the ending summarized as far as I'm concerned, but either way though, still a very enjoyable experience altogether, and still the actual presentation is still top notch, especially how Don Bluth was actually involved with this animation quality, and I should really give him some credit for it. And that's about it for our Let's Play of Space Ace for the arcade machines and all that stuff. So now we just need to get into the final point of the actual final point of the 2018 and give my final thoughts of that year. Easily, without doubt, much like in 2017, it's been a great year so far. Like, in the forms of, like, the games has been released by the specific year, most notably by the forms of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, that's one of them, and, especially noticeable with the forms of, Sonic Mania Plus, as far as I'm aware, and going back into the Mario Party series once again by the forms of Super Mario Party. Granted though, we might do a Let's Play of that game until next year, but that's how it usually happens. And, especially noticeable with the forms of not only games that's been released on 2018, but also some films as well. Like, for instance, The Incredibles 2, there's a very, very great film as far as the actual 14 years hiatus since the first Incredibles film, and especially noticeable with the forms of Ralph Breaks the Internet, that's also a very good one as well. And, also Ready Player One, that's actually pretty alright at stuff, or in this case, pretty good. And Early Man was also very good as well, don't get me wrong. And especially noticeable with, well, I've seen Coco by the forms of the very beginning of that specific year, because granted though, in the UK's release date have to be somewhat delayed. And, it's such a great masterful achievement, back in 2017 that is, originally that film came out. And, that's as far as I can usually say about the films of 2018 as far as the actual my final thoughts of that year goes. There are some upcoming titles as far as we already know about this, especially in 2019 will be on its way during tomorrow because, you know, today was the New Year's Eve, so even then though that we might as well hopefully to celebrate with this, by the forms of like, 2018 is about to close. And this is a good reason why I'm doing Space Ace as the final Let's Play of 2018. So, still it's a pretty short distraction, but either way though, it's a pretty enjoyable experience to me though. And that's as far as I can get. So, as for the forms of the future predictions with the forms of 2019, stuff like games like New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, Mario Luigi Bowser's Inside Story plus Bowser Jr.'s Journey for the 3DS, and don't forget the biggest title of the forms of 2019 is Kingdom Hearts 3. Now I'm gonna be playing that game until in day 1 this time around because, well, let's just say this right now, that about the fact that I'm still gonna be coming back into the forms of some of these Let's Plays of the Kingdom Hearts games, like, I'm still gonna be on Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, but once I've done with that on my PlayStation 4 version, then I'll be moving on to the forms of the next Kingdom Hearts Let's Play, or sometime like that. Well, it all depends though really, because there is a lot of content on that. And let's not forget by the forms of Yoshi's Crafted World. In fact, we're actually going to be doing our Let's Play of Yoshi's Woolly World before Yoshi's Crafted World is going to be on its way on the Nintendo Switch. So that way we can able to actually just to play through that before Yoshi's Crafted World has been released. And still the forms of the Back to the Kirby series of games for Let's Plays department for our channel, like the next one we're going to be doing is Kirby Superstar Ultra for the Nintendo DS, and after that we'll be moving on to the forms of the, let's just say the modern Kirby series, by the forms of Kirby's Adventure Wii, Kirby Triple Deluxe, Kirby Planet Robobot, Kirby Star Allies, and much more. And speaking of Kirby, Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn on the Nintendo 3DS will be on its way next year, and Crash Team Racing Remake is going to be on its way as well. And let's not forget by the forms of Team Sonic Racing for the Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and you name the rest. And as far as the actual other predictions goes, well, we'll just soon to find out until when Nintendo Directs eventually happen. And let's not forget about one last thing before we end this off with the 2018 video, and especially noticeable with that, there are some other films coming out for 2019, like The Lego Movie 2, Dumbo, Aladdin, and The Lion King remakes, and let's just not forget, Toy Story 4. I'm really looking forward to that film so much. So this is me, Sonic the Hedgehog, in the likes of the Maxi Toys, and Happy New Year to you all for tomorrow, and I'll see you then. Bye.